going on, my friends? This is Rick the Batman, and in the background you can hear some traditional Christmas music or holiday music, however you want to look at it. Hopefully this is not bleeding over too much, so you can't hear my voice, because everybody knows just how much you really want to hear my voice. This is, well, let's call it the state of my channel coming into the new year, or the ending of the old year, however you want to look at it. A friend of mine, Rob Gusterson, does these on a regular basis, and I thought, you know, sometimes it doesn't hurt. I am partway through my revisitation of Star Wars, the role-playing game, and my let's go here, my revisitation of the revisiting of Middle Earth with some of my updated stuff. This particular video is brought to you by Frosty Root Beer. This here was a staple of my childhood, although it came in a different kind of bottle. If you ever saw it, it had the fake raised glass here with what looked like frosted, ring of frost on it. They were back when everything was in 16-ounce bottles, right? This is a throwback. These things are freaking expensive. They're like $5-6 for a pack of 4. It used to $2. You used to buy an 8-pack of Pepsi when I was younger. 16-ounce bottles. Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because this is made from pure sugar, which is not always a good thing for us, especially hitting the middle age bracket. But just goes to show how far we've come in a handful, 2 generations or a handful of decades. I intend to continue through MERP and Star Wars until they finish, and then it's going to be a toss-up. I will either visit my Mech Warrior Battletech collection, which is quite a bit, or I will do Shadowrun and then the other one, because I've only got a couple more big collections, and then of course my various versions of Dungeons and Dragons, and I can then get a little more into some of my there's elements of a lot of these source books and game books that really beg for being focused on more than that, and that's perhaps something I will look into this coming new year. I also am going to be doing another video right after this one to highlight some of the technological devices I've recently acquired, and my intentions and hopes, and see if they work and they don't work, things like that. Like I said in the last few videos, I'm going to try to be a little less about my personal stuff. I mean, it's important to me, because you're my audience. I don't get to talk to very many people outside of my work and my spouse. Can't really ramble on about things that frustrate me. I can tell you without a doubt that I was supposed to be working the entire day today. I was supposed to be working until 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, but about 1 in the morning my truck yet again broke down, and it's just been the last 2.5 weeks. It's been a struggle, because they talk about finances. You talk about living sometimes one paycheck away from failure, and I've worked hard to make sure I have a little bit of cushion. I've got enough put back in savings that we can cover all of our primary bills, credit cards, expenses, things like this. We always pay our mortgage first. So our mortgage came, paperwork came yesterday, and we already had money orders from the 3rd. And it's because my wife is on disability after 20 years of working for a convenience store chain called Casey's, which is local to the Midwest for the most part. Her epilepsy got to the point where she became a potential liability hazard working, and so it was just the way it happened. And if you know anything about disability, it takes years for people to get on it. My wife got on it in 6 months, just under 6 months, so about 5 months, and that's full full disability, so she gets enough money each month to cover our mortgage and a few other bills. The rest of it's from my paycheck, of course. And my paycheck depends on that ugly beast that shows up in a handful of my videos on occasion, and I gripe about functioning and running. Like I said, 2.5 weeks ago, I was coming home on a Friday after morning jobs, and the accelerator cable snapped, which was a new one, and we took a log chain in one of the company pickups and drug it up to another mechanic shop, and it sat there for 5 days while we waited on parts, and then they got it fixed, and they did a couple other necessary maintenance repairs on that truck that was needed at that point, and we got it back, and I worked a day and a half, and I put in 22 hours in that day and a half, and the gear that runs the pump on the truck failed, and it took another day and a half to get one and put it on. The concept between my job is we service a bunch of places, and it's the only truck we have. So when the truck goes down, those jobs don't go undone, they just get pushed back and they pile up, and they become, well, I'm scheduled heavy right to the end of the year, first part of next year, and a lot of it's makeup jobs for the past 2 weeks in addition to the normal routine. And every time this truck fails, some jobs don't get done and new ones don't get done, and they get piled up, which makes for some really long and grueling days and potential overtimes there. But I'm playing catch up, so it's not necessarily a good thing. The previous week was almost non-existent, so the company fronted me a paycheck to help keep the things going, and unfortunately I didn't have to do that again, and I hope not to, because that's money you have to pay back. So I can get a lot of overtime, but the overtime pays back what I had to quote borrow from the company, and I really try hard not to do that, because I kind of like that overtime. It's what helps pay the extra bills, and then gives us a surplus that we can put in savings and to buy the things that we don't need to have but we would like to have. The truck, we got it fixed, and it ran for about 2 days, 2.5 days, and I put in almost 30 hours in that 2.5 days. I mean, I was putting 15 hour days, because it's just that much stuff piled up, and it interferes with things like my channel, which is, the truth is, I might not have had a video posted until Christmas Day, and I'm thinking Christmas Day in the afternoon when I'm back from the run to the family and take a nap, maybe go ahead and do another couple of videos, because assuming the truck's running, I won't have a free weekend until after the year, and to try to make up all this stuff. So the truck ran for 2.5 days, and then the radiator came apart. It split a seam or something, which is pretty important piece of hardware, and we had to have the truck towed back to the shop. We acquired another mechanic who's much more knowledgeable and capable than the previous would-be mechanic, and this guy's trying to start his own business doing this sort of stuff, and he knows this thing, and it's helpful. On the downside is we had to wait for a radiator. We ordered it the boss ordered it from California, and it came from South Carolina, which kind of was a puzzle, but it cost us $900, and then the radiator hoses were another $495 with shipping. So now you've already almost $1,500 in, plus the wages, the labor of the player mechanic to put the thing together, get it running, and it took him part of a day. So I had it up and running again, let's say Wednesday morning. So I worked Wednesday evening all day Thursday, most of Friday, and I would have worked into 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning Saturday, which would have put me into overtime for the first time in 3 weeks, and would have got a good bunch of those previous jobs caught up. And I went into the gas station and put gas in it. Didn't want to start, and we're still trying to figure out why it won't start. I had to have it towed back to the shop. Mechanic came out and spent part of the yesterday. We think it might be, we went through this 3 or 4 months ago there's bad gas, or there's buildup in the bottom. These big diesel tanks, they have a tendency to collect sediment and other things in the bottom, and I let it get below a quarter tank, and I've never had issues with it being below a quarter tank, but maybe there's a problem in there that we need to not let it. I just need to keep it topping it off at half a tank from here on out to see if that doesn't help. But the downside is, of course, the model of truck is a Nissan. They don't produce them here. They don't produce them, period, anymore. It's only a 15-year-old truck, but it's very tough to get parts for, and it's different from a Zuzu's in a lot of ways. Getting the fuel filters, it takes two. There's a fuel dryer filter and then a straight fuel filter, and we had a spare fuel filter, and we put it on, early, like 1 in the morning Saturday. Tried to get the truck back up and running. The mechanic actually came out to the quick trip. He was just getting ready to go to bed, but he came out and worked on the trucks, and we couldn't get it to start. And that's a huge leap above the previous mechanic, because he could drag his feet for 3 or 4 days to get anything done, unless the boss happened to grab him by the ears at the right moment. So the boss ran around Saturday trying to find fuel filters, and nobody has them. Nobody has them for that particular truck. They're either too small, or they don't fit right, or there's always something. So they had to order them online, and they're like $40 to $60 a piece, depending on which one you order. And it could be Tuesday, we're being told. All right. And I had a whole day packed for tomorrow too. I would have been working probably 14, 15 hours today. I would have had another 10, 15 hours, 10 to 12 for sure tomorrow, maybe more. If you can manage to pull a rabbit out of his hat and find those filters by tomorrow and get the truck running, I'll go out and work what I can. And then Christmas Eve, I was adamant, I'm not going to work past a certain time on Christmas Eve, because most of what my family does celebrate is more on Christmas Eve than Christmas Day. And Christmas Day, of course, is Christmas, and the company doesn't work on Christmas, on major holidays, which is so. The puts us back at Thursday and Friday being a hammered, packed set of days, all through to the New Year, or to New Year's Eve, and then we're back to that. So this is me rambling on about my personal issues and problems, specifically with my job, which does affect this channel to some degree. And like I said, I apologize sometimes for entertaining people with this sort of thing, because most of you don't care, and that's right, understandable. But there's a time when I don't post on a weekly basis, and I slip and it goes to 2 weeks. It's primarily because I have had to work through the weekend, and I don't do that very often, because I've learned the hard way to it's a slippery slope. If you give an inch, you're at the bottom of the slope. So this is the exception to the rule, because just absolutely the trucks just, we've been down more than we've ran, and there's just probably 30 or 40 jobs that are piled up again. I made a huge dent in the previous, but I still have at least 3 jobs pending from 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and then there's about 10 jobs from from last week, and then the ones that are this week are now not getting done too. So those are coming in, and we have certain customers that we do on a weekly basis, and they need that service, because otherwise their plumbing will tend to back up, and then they have problems running their business, such as their restaurants. And I try to prioritize when the truck gets fixed. I get as many of those as I can caught up. And lo and behold, I don't know what this tomorrow is going to bring, but I do know that I'm going to go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to get a company pickup and a small shop vac and a 50-gallon drum, and I'm going to go to a couple of those priority services and get them done the old-fashioned hard way, just to make sure that they're good to go for the holiday. And because I take my job serious, and I don't want to lose. They're good customers, they're good people, and we do the level best we can. And it's not their fault our truck's falling apart. It's not my fault either. Right? It is kind of one of those things. So like I said, I hope to have a productive new year, and this will be next week is the anniversary for our first year in this house. Once again, it's personal stuff, and I've mentioned it off and on through various videos. 3 years ago I was homeless, honest to God, homeless. Some issues and situations of my own making, and then family issues that created a problem, and my wife stayed with my parents, and I slept in a car. or my mother, and my aunt and uncle, or my aunt and her son and a bunch of other people were squatting, living in my mom's house for free, and they destroyed the place. They turned it into it was a nightmare. And then I came back and I didn't realize just how bad things had got. And my sister had tried telling me, but I just you had to wade through chest high piles of boxes and garbage bags thrown up in the upstairs rooms to truly understand just how bad it got. I mean, I hit it with a steam shovel. I mean, I basically insisted on certain people relocating, and because of that, it became a thing. And then I went out, the wife and I, with the help of my mom and my sister, acquired a 30-year-old RV, which you've seen a number of videos shot from that on my channel from that RV. That was our home when we lived in it. Either we were parked in my mom's driveway, or we were parked in a Walmart parking lot, or in a boat ramp in the middle of nowhere, because we were trying to save money to get something. I came back and the rent up here just skyrocketed. You don't think about it when you're in places where the rent's low, or back in the day, because there's a generational issue again. My first apartment cost me like $300, $350. Of course, back then it was making, minimum wage was $5.35, so it still was pretty high. But I have coworkers who live in what amounts to the hood for Des Moines, and yes, Des Moines has a hood, and it can be pretty bad if people get their shootings there daily in that particular block section of town. Once upon a time, I worked in a convenience store just right in the middle of it, and like I said, you probably won't translate it, but there's a nice little scar that runs across here, and another one, ironically, right there. You can see that one. That one there. Both of these came from that location, from the nice ladies at 3 in the morning, because I wouldn't sell them booze. There were certain laws in our state that at 2 o'clock to 6 a.m. you do not sell liquor, beer, anything. And they got irate about it. In one case, come across the counter with a straight edge and cut me. 6-7 months later, it was the repeat on the other arm. Different lady, different straight edge. And yeah, right? Who does things like that? But that was back when we still had 16-ounce bottles of Pepsi and stuff, so that tells you how long ago. And there's other stories that go in relation to that, and I'm not going to entertain you with them here anyway. But the point was, my coworkers were spending $800, $900 a month to rent a 1- and 2-bedroom apartments in that neighborhood, which back in the day was $200 or $300, and you were considered desperate to rent there. And the further you get out, the worse it gets. The average is $1,000, $1,100 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Come on, right? How do you afford that? I mean, seriously, if you have 2 people in the house working and you can split the difference, or you're working collaborative to pay it, it's still a terrible burden. And yet, ironically, the cost of buying a house is far cheaper. This is the thing that my wife and I discovered, and we struggled and strove to do so. And our mortgage is, well, yesterday I got it and I looked at just a little over $500. Cost of the house, insurance, and taxes is just say $540 in that range, and we pay $575 on it, so we always pay above what's required. And then we have a supplemental mortgage, which helped us get the house without putting money down. That was another $98 a month, and we pay $125 on that. So we figure, I'm paying about $710 a month to pay for a house, and we're paying an extra $90 or $90, so it's actually closer to $600. Our mortgage is around 6 something, and then it just leaves the lights and power. And there's another great irony that kills me. Obviously, I have internet, and I need internet, and I want it. It kind of goes with a package deal with Mediacom around here. There's other options, but they either hit or miss in this particular neighborhood, because this is also considered, it's not the hood, but it is the wrong side of the tracks for a lot of folks. This is unincorporated Des Moines. I have a massive Firestone factory just a block away from me, and a major street that crosses half a block away. The interstate's behind us. I can see it from my backyard. But it has some advantages too, because it's actually a quiet neighborhood, a lot of small businesses, a lot of kind of shady people running around too, but for the most part they keep their shadiness to themselves. We've not had any problems at this particular house here. This is our first house we've ever bought, so you know it still amazes me that I own a house and I'm a homeowner, and my wife and I have a solid place, and we're no longer parking in strange places in a dodgy RV. You know, you'd think about $300 a month I put in gas, and the average that RV just driving it around from place to place. Well, geez, there's half my mortgage, right? People says, well, how do you know you live in an RV? How can you know you can afford a house? I spend $100, $120 a month on bags of ice. I bought a bag of ice a day, sometimes 2 bags a day, and you put another $300 in average in gas, so there's 4 something. And then we had a storage locker for a majority of our possessions that we had stored for a better part of 2 years at $140 odd a month. So there's another, you know, we're at $600 right there, and those are, you know, outlays that we were paying, so we already had it. But you know, the fact is we are living comfortably, and our bills are being paid as long as nothing catastrophic, you know, goes wrong, except when these truck issues start to stretch into weeks and I start getting worried about it. But that's just me getting my 2 cents in. And like I said, it's Christmas, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all you guys and gals, and those of you who've supported my channel for the last couple of years. You're awesome people. Your comments are always welcome, and we've actually crept up to 117 subscribers, which when I started there was 4, right? 3 or 4 maybe. And like I've said over and over again, I don't care. It's not about having 20,000 or 200,000 subscribers. I'm not going to say and lie and say, hey, it wouldn't be neat to have, but it's not about that. It's about sharing my love of my hobby, sharing my interest in it, and what I have to share, and my older collection, if you will, things that you know, some people may never have seen before or have heard of, or those of you who are like me, older, and have played them and had the opportunities to go back and go, oh, I remember that one, right? There's always good and bad in all channels, or in all games. I have a couple Star Wars supplements that I've been going through called Other Space. That's kind of out there, right? I bought them because you know, when I was buying these things, I bought whatever came out, whether I played them or not. And I can honestly say these are 2 modules I never played. They're 2. I mean, I don't know. There's some kind of struggle for me, because I think they don't have the vibe of Star Wars. They're in Star Wars, but they're not. It's kind of more appropriate for a Star Trek kind of game, right, or another game system than the, you know, what we know as Star Wars. Oh, hey, yeah, the last installment of the Skywalker saga is out at the theaters. I have full intentions to go see it, even though I am rolling my eyes and gritting my teeth, because, you know, I'm a diehard Star Wars nut, Lucas all the way, and Disney has taken a hatchet, an axe, to this beloved franchise and done some horrible things to it. It's just like this social renaissance of sorts that's been running wild all over the internet and society today, and its repercussions. I mean, there's a lot of movies and remake movies that just don't do well anymore because they fail to understand the concept and the audience. And you can't hold me responsible for a crappy movie. I don't give a damn who you are and what your agenda is and what your philosophy is. If you make a movie and it's crap, I'm not going to go see it. I'm not going to pay to see it more than once, I can guarantee it. I have not gone back to any of the current Star Wars movies, exception. I went to Rogue One twice. Rogue One was a good movie. I went to Solo once, and I think Solo was a good movie. There were some issues in it, political issues and social issues that crept in, but for the most part it's a solid movie, and I've watched it several times on Netflix, and since then. So it's like when I was younger, when the original movies came out and the prequels came out, we went out and seen them many times at the theater. So one of the reasons they were such huge box office hits was because the people who fell in love with them wanted to see them in the big cinema. And then years later, 20 years later, when Lucas issued his remastered version, it hit the theaters for a limited amount of time, and boy, we all went and seen it, and we seen it several times. But I would not go back and see The Rise of Skywalker at the theater ever again. I may never see it and never watch it again in a video format, unless there's absolutely nothing else to watch, because of what they did to my beloved franchise. Now, I'm hearing great things from The Mandalorian, and I've seen clips on YouTube what I can, because I don't have the Disney Channel. And once again, like I said, my MediaCom bill, have the internet and basic cable, it runs about exactly the same cost for my utility bill, about $107. Yeah, my Mid-America bill was $104. Is that good or bad? I don't know. I remember paying utility bills back when we had apartments back in the day, but for the lion's share of it, I squatted at my mom and dad's. I'm kind of ashamed of that mindset now, looking back at how selfish I was and self-centered for many years. But sometimes we have to grow up, and then we have to wake up. There's other ways to become woke, and they're not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how you approach it and how you use it, right? And that's that. So, like I said, I've got a couple little thingamabobs I'm about to do another channel or video on from my channel, and then I'm going to do 2 reviews. I have the Pearls on the Sea of Ren from Middle Earth, and the Politics of Contraband. This is one of the modules that's purely for smugglers and not Jedi. You could have a Jedi in there if you wanted to, but this was you could show you that you could play different venues with Star Trek or Star Wars and have lots of adventures and fun. So, like I said, we are, let's see, where is it? Yeah, there we go. Going to call that this video, and as you can see, I already put the cards away, and you guys have a happy holiday. And I probably will do another 2 videos on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, and then depending on how hungover I am on New Year's, I expect to do 2 more, because as long as the work truck runs, I'll be working through the weekends to catch everything up and get my bills paid. So till next time, this is Rick the Fat Man saying game on.